Hello, my name is Ricky Porter, and I am doing a television series for Channel 35, a local cable television network here in Dublin. This show is called At Home with Ricky Porter, At Home in Dublin with Ricky Porter. This show is about highlighting Dublin, how great it is to be in the city of Dublin, how fantastic it is to be a citizen of this community. We're interviewing citizens who are movers and shakers. Today, we're going to visit with George Roussel, the city manager of Dublin, and Deborah Stanley, the community development coordinator. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
Very good. Later on, we're going to interview our Honorable Mayor, Phil Best. Right now, we're going to have some conversation with these two individuals who will know a great deal about Dublin, and they'll be able to tell us how Dublin is growing and how we can contribute to Dublin. Welcome to At Home with Ricky Porter in Dublin. So, Deborah, I want to start with you.
Okay.
I want you to share with us a little bit about your work first. Tell us what does the Community Development Coordinator do?
I am the Community Development Coordinator for the City of Dublin, and my responsibilities include seeking and securing and managing various public grant funds from federal and state sources to help implement the strategic goals of the city. So I would be in charge of managing those funds for, various community improvement type projects of that nature.
So not only do you obtain the money, but you also manage it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And Brother George Roussel, City Manager, that's a lofty title. What does the City Manager do?
Show up.
You show up and do what?
I'll show up. Basically what I do, Ricky, is manage the day-to-day operation of the City of Dublin.
Okay.
All departments.
Okay.
I work for Mayor Best and Dublin City Council, and I follow their direction and manage the city.
Okay, very good.
All departments.
Okay, that's a heavy-duty job.
It's a fun job.
And how long have you had that job?
18 years.
18 years. And Deborah, how long have you been in your position as the city?
Well, I've actually been an employee of the city for almost 30 years.
Wow.
However, I've been working as a community development coordinator for the last, I think, maybe 5 years. Yeah.
And could you name two contributions from your work as the community development coordinator, two contributions which you positively know has brought Dublin further into an area of prosperity?
Well, probably that would relate to infrastructure, receiving grant resources to help improve and extend our infrastructure in two ways. One would probably be for industry, for incoming industries. Edrich Manufacturing Company is our most recent industry where we received two grants, one for $500,000 and one for $1.3 million to help extend water and
This is money
sewer.
from the federal government?
Water and sewer, to help the community with
Now,
jobs.
these funds matched by the state of Georgia?
No, local, the city matches those, okay? But it helps with, making the most use of our local funds, when we can receive and, various grant funds to match those. And then the other would be probably infrastructure in our neighborhoods, as well. We've been able to help improve water and sewer and, throughout the city as well in the local neighborhoods. So not just extend it for industry, but also for our citizens,
Are there any particular neighborhoods in Dublin that you're focusing on for infrastructure development?
Scottsville, the Scottsville area, I think we received
Which is a
$500,000.
historic African-American neighborhood.
We've received $500,000 to improve water in that area. And the South Side, Washington Street, Simmons Street area. Right now we're in the Ray Street area. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Good. Brother George, yesterday we spoke very briefly about this show and having you to be on the program. And I wanted to know from your perspective as a city manager, what could we do in Dublin to enhance Dublin? What could we do to make the city of Dublin more dynamic, more viable? And you mentioned something that really grabbed my attention, the consolidation of the school system. Now, first of all, what does that mean, the consolidation of the school system?
Well, here in Dublin and Lawrence County, we have two separate school systems, two separate public school systems, Dublin City Schools and Lawrence County School System. And that's not the case in most communities in the state of Georgia. There are still some city schools that still exist, but they're they're few and far between. Okay, and I've always felt that we are one community and we should have one school system. Now, I'm a big fan of consolidation anyway. I think consolidation is beneficial to the taxpayer, especially when you get to the community level. Like I said, we're one community. And we have school systems that I think they're both very good school systems. I have no problem with them as educational perspective. I think they're both trying to do the best they can. Unfortunately, it causes division in our community. Okay, and in addition to that, it's also a diversity issue. Okay, the Dublin City school system is majority African American, and the Lawrence County school system is majority Caucasian. And the way I look at it is, we fought that battle in the 60s. Okay, and we should not be voluntarily going back towards that. And that's a huge concern of mine personally.
What mechanism or apparatus has to be put in place to bring about a consolidation of the school systems?
Well, I'm no expert on the subject, but there's two ways to do it, really. The city and the county boards could ask for a consolidation study, and then the state would help with that.
Is there any dialogue at any point now between the two?
I don't think there's any right now. There has been some. There has been some in the past. And it's my sincere wish that there will be some in the future, because I think it's critical for the future of Dublin.
Okay. Now, what do you think would be the biggest obstacle about bringing consolidation of the school system together?
Well, it's a couple things. You know, one is people are comfortable where they are now, and they're a little bit afraid of the unknown. That is one thing. Okay. Another thing is really the mechanics of how do you get it done. Okay, because if you do that, then you face the battle of who goes to what school, right? And that's all difficult. But it's been done in other communities very successfully, and I have no doubt it could be done in Dublin and Lawrence County as well.
This television program hopes to bring you, the viewer, into the show itself. So we're going to ask that you will raise your questions and raise your comments about what you're experiencing, what you're seeing here. I think that what we like to do is to talk honestly and openly and in a rigorous way about Dublin and what we like about Dublin and ways that we can improve Dublin. And I appreciate your courageousness to bring a subject that I think is a really hot topic, because you'd have to explore the history as to why the school systems became separate in the first place. But moving on, I'd like for the two of you to talk about your relationship as city manager and as the community development coordinator. How does that work? What is the symbiosis between the two?
Well, he's my boss.
He's your boss. Okay, so that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
And we work well together. My vision pretty much comes from George's, vision, of course. I do.
And where did you get your vision?
Mayor and council.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my job is to, help implement the projects, that the council, the city manager, and staff, city staff have, agreed are projects that we want to help improve our community. And in that, providing services to our residents. Okay. Yeah.
So you work with the mayor and the city council for a vision for Dublin, and that vision involves concrete projects and proposals. And then you work with Deborah to say, help us to find funding to make these projects happen. Is that basically how it works?
That's very simply put, yes.
And then do the two of you then form an administrative staff and have a staff meeting to say, well, you do this and you do that and you do this?
Well, Deborah is one of 14 department heads.
Yes.
Okay. And we have in every department somebody who runs the department. And I'm not a big fan of micromanaging. I let the department heads run their department, and the city's a lot better off for it because they have a lot more expertise in their area than I do. So I'm very, very fortunate. I have a very, very strong staff. We've got wonderful employees who make it their mission to serve our citizens, and I'm very blessed.
And how often do you have one meeting with all department heads?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
And we work as a great team. So, of course, when there are projects, and there are, that we need additional funding to help help extend our budget, because of course we're all pretty much feeling the different budget cuts that dwindles down from the government, the federal government down to the state to the local level. So of course when there are cuts there, we experience those cuts even more so on the local level, and those grant funds come in really handy when it comes to being able to maintain a level of service that you've been providing to your citizens where you don't necessarily have to raise taxes to meet those cuts. And so but we have a great team. Depending on what the project is, I will contact, that maybe another department, engineering. Usually, most of the time, I start with engineering department if it's going to involve infrastructure, construction or anything of that nature. And if it's involving maybe historic preservation buildings, then I will contact our chief building inspector.
So depending on the project, then you make contact with the
Yes. And if it's something maybe involving more so utilities, I may contact our utility director just to get more information. So for me, the beginning point would be gathering information, about the particular type of project that we're going to pursue, and then the staff that I work with are available, and they're accessible, and we work as a team, so to make it happen.
What's the biggest disagreement the two of you have ever had?
I don't know.
Oh, come on. Mr. Russell, what's the biggest disagreement the two of you have?
I really can't think of one.
I can't. No, absolutely not. Okay. When our goal is to provide the best services that we can to our citizens, and so it's what the vision is, what is our purpose, and was to serve our community. And so how can we do that in the best way?
Thank you very much. We have been visiting with George Russell, the city manager of Dublin, and Deborah Stanley, the community development coordinator. Thank you for being with us with At Home in Dublin with Ricky Porter, and we will visit with Mayor Phil Best. Thank you. Today we have the Honorable Mayor of Dublin, Phil Best. a friend, a loyal citizen of this town, and a person I'm really glad to have on this show.
Good to see you, Dr. Porter.
Yes. How long have you been the mayor of Dublin?
I am in my 15th year.
Your 15th year.
Yep.
Is this your third term?
Actually, I think this may be my fourth term I'm
Your
working
fourth
in
term.
there. That's right.
Wow.
Yep.
Do you mind me asking you on television how old you are?
I'm 58 years old.
Wow.
Well, I'll be 58 in a week or two,
So that
April
means that
19th.
when you got started, you were, what, 43?
That's right, and then I was on the city council 6 years prior to that.
And you had a lot more hair on the
Had a lot more hair. A lot more hair.
This is a show that is trying to feature the best of Dublin. We're trying to look at Dublin in ways which will cause us to be proud of being citizens of this great city. Yep. Could you name one or two things that you're very proud of about Dublin and why you would invite someone to be a citizen and a resident of Dublin?
Two things come to mind immediately. Number one is the people. It's amazing. You go across the state and everyone talks about the people in Dublin and their attitude. Number two, I think our ability to, no matter what our successes are, we're always trying to do something better. Okay. We're always looking for constructive criticism, and we're always looking for ways that we can improve our hometown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the greatest challenge for growth in Dublin?
I think probably right now one of the main things we've got to work on is our crime. We do have some crime here in Dublin that probably, if you compared it to other communities, would be acceptable. But I don't think it's acceptable in Dublin. I think we're lower than a lot of other communities, but we've had some outbursts of break-ins and things that I think that our city manager and our chief of police and our Dublin City Council are on, and we're trying to do better.
If you look at that subject, the crime rate in Dublin over the last 5 years, has the crime rate gone up over the last 5 years? Has it fluctuated over the last 5 years?
It's probably gone up a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sure has. Mm-hmm. But as I said, our chief of police, Wayne Kane, and the Dublin City Council and George Russell we're looking at more ways. Crime within itself is not just an issue that police can handle by themselves. We can't expect our police department or any police department to deal with that. But I think we as a community have got to continue looking for ways to work with the folks who are at risk. We've got to look at the properties in Dublin that are dilapidated and continue fighting that battle. Over the last 10 years or so, Gary Johnson, back 10 years ago, really pushed for a dilapidated house ordinance. Since that time, we have torn down 400 houses or brought them back up to code, which are havens for illegal activity. Okay. We've got to continue that fight. We've got to ask our landlords to make sure their properties are suitable for folks to live in and make sure they're the right places to be.
Okay. I moved to Dublin in 2007,
yep.
And I had not heard of Dublin before, and I was told that Dublin was not only a part of the Bible Belt, but it was the buckle of the Bible Belt. Is there much truth to that?
I think you're exactly right.
What does that mean then, to be a part of the Bible Belt South?
Well, I just think that there's a strong Christian faith in Dublin and the area. I think you've got a lot of faith-based communities throughout the area, and I think they are all committed to serving the Lord.
And would you say that Dublin is tolerant of other religions, the Jewish faith, Muslim, Hindu?
Ricky, I don't have a good answer for that because I really don't know
the statistics of those.
That's right. The population of those faiths.
Mm-hmm. What has been your greatest personal pleasure of being the mayor of Dublin, other than my bowing down to you every time I see you?
I don't believe it. Don't believe that.
Okay. What has been,
Do not believe that, television audience.
okay. What has been your greatest personal pleasure of being the mayor of Dublin?
God, there's so many things, but having people like George Roussel and Deborah Stanley, and there's 200 more that work for the city of Dublin that feel like Dublin is they're committed to making Dublin better. It makes my job easy, and to know that they're out there and serving the public and truly public servants, that's very rewarding to see. Like St. Patrick's Day, the festival, we brought it back downtown. It was the first time in several years. There were 100 city employees there volunteering on their own time, trying to make that a success. To be part of that is very rewarding. And then to be part of a team that's always to work with the county and the development authority on trying to recruit industry, being a part of a team that's all pulling in the same direction, that's very rewarding.
In the United States, isn't there a conference of mayors in the United States?
Yes, there are.
And do you participate in that?
Not as much on the national level as the state level.
Okay, so there's a state conference of mayors.
That's right, and the Georgia Municipal Association. I have been very active in that organization for 20 plus years and have benefited from that association.
Could you say a little bit about how the city of Dublin works with the state of Georgia, works with the federal government to make things happen that will make a difference to the local citizens? So, in other words, how do you get the layers of government working together for the good of our town?
Well, that's really a simple answer.
Okay.
We work with our Representative Matt Hatchett and our Senator Ross Tollison. They're our first point of contact with the state of Georgia. Okay. They are, for instance, Representative Hatchett here a month ago had a lunch meeting in Atlanta for the Development Authority and some city and county officials, and we all went together, and all of the agency heads, the governor, the lieutenant governor, they all came and visited with us and talked to us and gave us an opportunity to tell them what we needed to do.
And the focus was on Dublin?
The focus was on Dublin, wow, Georgia, and Lawrence County. That would, that sort of relationship with Matt and Ross, that's the key. They're always our door. They unlock the door for us. On the national level, we've been very fortunate to have Congressman John Barra. He has done a tremendous job. He's got an office here in City Hall, and every time we've called Congressman Barra to help us, he has been there, and he's been our key to the national level.
I've interacted with his representative, Troy Wyndham.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, I have a question for you. Is there something in the horizon that looks like Congressman Phil Bess or U.S. Senator Phil? No, don't answer too quickly.
No, sir.
Really?
I can tell you that my aspiration is to be the mayor of Dublin, Georgia.
What about the senator representing the state of Georgia?
No, sir. Those guys are doing a great job with that, and I'm sure there's other folks that want to do it. But as I said, and you can book this one. I'm happy being the mayor of Dublin, Georgia.
You heard him.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
That's right.
I interviewed Deborah Stanley, the Community Development Coordinator, earlier, and George Roussel, a good friend of yours, the city manager.
Yes, sir.
And before we concluded, I asked them to give one good wish to the city of Dublin. And I want you to catch your breath and come up with something from your heart. What would you wish for the citizens of Dublin? What would be your wish for all of us as a united community?
Well, Ricky, I think if I had a wish, I'd wish that we could continue growing together as one community. And I wish we could continue looking for ways to better the community together.
Okay. We have been visiting with the Honorable Mayor of the City of Dublin, Mayor Fobes, a friend and a loyal citizen of our community. We're grateful for his leadership. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Good to see you.